I should say our co-host is Gary Groob, and we've got a very special guest, Peterborough native Joe Hiltz, former NLL player, commissioner of the Ontario Series Lacrosse, and current head coach of the playoff-bound Oshawa Outlaws of the Arena Lacrosse League. Joe, welcome back to the show. We'll see if this one works out better than the last one. What do you think? We give her a
Yeah.
try?
Oh yeah. You know what? I'm all plugged in, ready to go.
And I'm going to treat everybody like me. I'm old and have a short memory, so we're going to start over. So let's start with the part where you picked up a stick, how and why.
Uh, I picked up a stick when I was about 4 years old. Coming out of Peterborough, it's obviously a lacrosse city. More so back then, we had a lot more teams playing and stuff like that. But you know what? It really wasn't a family thing, except for a couple. My uncles played it off the Croak side. But it was just something that mom and dad put me and my brother in, and started when I was four, and I'm 50 years later, I'm still going strong.
Let's talk about making the transition from being a player to being a part of management. How did that start, and how's it going?
You know what? I started being a part of management when I was like 18 years old. I started coaching and stuff way back in Peterborough. I jumping on the executive there. I think when I was 20. Being part of that. Mom and dad were always part of it. It was just something that I like to do. Um, and even when I played, I tried to stay involved on Peterborough executive and the field executive and stuff like that. It then came the injury, right? And I tore my ACL, and it turned everything around where wasn't able to play anymore. And I took on bigger roles as coaches, where I, took on assistant coaching job with the junior A's and for a couple of years, and I jumped on some executives with Zone Six and with Peterborough, and it just kept going from there. Next thing you know, I'm on the OLA board of directors as a field VP. It just it just kept going.
Gary?
Well, let's go right back to the beginning, and we'll talk about growing up in Peterborough and playing junior in Peterborough. Let's talk about coaches, mentors. The whole area is just rich with lacrosse, and a lot of the legends are still there. So let's talk about just getting started. First off, in Peterborough.
When I started playing lacrosse in Peterborough, I was very quiet. Wasn't wasn't one of the better guys on the team way back then. I used to, memories of sitting at center tying shoelaces with guys. Just being happy to be on the floor to begin with. But it comes from having great coaches like John Martin, Danny Dunn, um, John Monroe, Jim Villeneuve, Bernie Downer, a lot of guys that played in our organization all the way through, and then came back. And then there was John Grant Senior, who was really instrumental in helping me become a better lacrosse player.
Right. And he's a mainstay. He's still there, still helping the youth of today.
Oh yeah, he walks around the arena with his little mini lacrosse stick in his back pocket, and
Yeah.
he challenges every kid and everybody to carry a lacrosse stick with him at all times.
Yeah, his story is always terrific. That the one time he didn't have it, he cost him about $50. So something like $2 for not having your stick with you, and one after the other went after him. So he
Yeah,
always carries that little stick with him to make sure.
that's right. He comes after you for $2, but when he doesn't have one, it's $5. But it's like,
It's a pretty expensive predicament. So yeah, he always has that with him. Your junior career, what a career! 4 Mintos, won 3 of them, beat the Gates in 2 of them. That's pretty impressive. Let's talk about some of them. First off, is there a favorite of those 4 Minto Cups that you went to?
I think the favorite was the first one's always your best one. We went out west. We didn't fare well in the round robin. We were 1-3 um, in the round robin, and where Coquitlam was 1-3 as well. But we had a better goals for record against each other. We're the Esquimalt. was 4-0. So we had to figure out a way to beat them, and you know, with with our coaches, John Martin, Dan Dunn, came up with a strategy that we came out, we played a strong zone defense, but which didn't allow Gary and Paul to do what they wanted to do, and we got up 7-0 in a hurry in a one game final at the time. It wasn't a 2-3 or a 4-7. It
Mm-hmm.
was a one game final. So we got up 7-0 in a hurry, and held on to an 11-7 win, which was kind of exciting. But I think the best one was St. Catharines in '87,
Mm-hmm.
where we started off the tournament. We lost 28-20, or I don't know, was it like a double overtime game or some crazy thing? But then went on to go undefeated the rest of the tournament, which meant in a two out of three final, we beat them two straight in the finals,
Wow.
which kind of solidified we beat you last year in the one game final, but we beat you this year, 3 out of 4.
Now, my question for you about the Gates would be: were they as dynamic in junior as they became in college, and of course in the NLL, and the rest is history? But were they as dynamic there?
Yes, they were. They were a threat to be reckoned with for sure. Gary and Paul, you know what? They played off each other. They were big. They were strong. They were 6 feet. They're 6 footers. Playing the game. They could shoot backhands, reverse backhands. Scored many different ways. And when you're double teaming them, they're finding a teammate that's wide open. And Tommy Marichuk or the Peppers, or you know what I mean. So like they had a lot of different guys. Their arsenal was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I said, when you challenged them and you doubled them, and they just found ways to score otherwise, and by setting somebody else up.
Right, and if one got 4 and one got 5, you'd have to get 10. So just for them alone.
Yeah, you know what? It really though, like if one was 4-3, the other guy would be 3-4 or 3-6, and it was tough to shut them down. It really was, but I think at the time, I think we had a better team. Sorry, a better team than they did, where we had depth.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the depth. We had the goaltending. I don't think their goaltending was as strong as ours. Um, I do believe, our first year, my first year playing junior, we lost in the finals to Whippy, who dominated everybody. But that was the year that we graduated. We started 13 rookies, I do
Right.
believe, and we grew from there. So the next year we had 13, sophomores, and we brought in, I think it was 3 or 4 other guys. So we had like 17 guys that were young and eager to play and have played together for a long time. And then you had your veterans in with Bats and my brother and Kurt Jury, Jeff Hartle, you know what I mean? And the list goes on.
Right.
And I think we just played better as a unit, as a team. And we didn't rely on 2 guys to do all the damage, where we had 5 or 6 guys that could do it.
All right, so we head on over to your senior career, and your first year you kicked off with a rookie of the year. You had a great year coming out of junior to get into senior, but yeah, rookie of the year is a pretty substantial thing there.
Yeah, you know what? It was, and it's one of those things that not many people get to accomplish. You know, the kicker was I lost the scoring title by 1. So so ask me if I'm bitter. Absolutely. You know, Eh, so you know what? Peter Park won the scoring that year, and he won the MVP. And you know what? Peter's a great player. Played with him at West and New
Mhm.
Westminster. Um, that guy, he was just a remarkable player, and just to be in the same category as him was a great thing. But yeah, ask me if I'm bitter. Absolutely bitter. I didn't get one more assist or goal because I would have won the scoring title because I had more goals than him.
Right.
So
Now you talk about New West. You went out to New Westminster and went to back man cups as well.
yeah, you know what? We made the move. I think it was my second year senior. It was a time. We were just starting a family. we started to move. New Westminster was a great family organization, which, basically family came first. All the guys were great. We had Peterborough connections out there. Andy Ogilvy was out there. I think Andy Shaughnessy was out there at the time. Walter Quinley went out there. He was out there, but he wasn't playing at the time. So there's a lot of connections out there family wise, which made the transition easy to go out and be there. And they treated us like family. So, and that was the biggest thing with that organization. It was like we were so close. Like every game there was something going on at somebody's house. Every weekend there was something going on at the park or something happening with the team, and we spent a lot of time together, which was really good.
Mhm. You had a chance. You go into the NLL. Let's talk about you're with Detroit just when the NLL becomes the NLL from the Middle League. So now they're individually owned teams. Um, with Detroit to start with, let's talk about the team. Let's talk about Joe Louis Arena. Just the whole ambiance behind that.
It was my first kick of the can, like for the actual pro league. I played for the Guelph Power prior to that. The Ontario Pro League. It lasted for 1 year, which was awesome. It was a lot of good players played there instead of playing in the U.S. But
Mhm.
playing in the Joe Louis Arena was fantastic. Uh, Nice atmosphere, good arena. The team was basically 75% Canadians. We got in a van and we left Peterborough. We picked up 6 other guys along the way, me and my brother. And it was good to play with my brother in the pro league. He was in Buffalo the year before that when they won. Um, but when I went to Detroit, he came across to Detroit to play with us, and it was a good thing to play with him as well.
Now, one of the things about playing back then, I guess '98, is all the old barns that you got to play in. The Maple Leaf Gardens, the Joe Louis Arena, the Spectrum in Philadelphia, the Memorial Odd in Buffalo. Just taking in all the history and all the legacy of all the guys that came in and played.
Yeah, you know what? Every arena I went into, I sat and had a moment actually to think about that stuff and think about who came through the building. And I still got today. I try to get to the arena early, so I can get there and just sit and get myself focused and just reminisce about the past and stuff like that. And uh, you know, the Boston Gardens played the Boston Gardens where the fans were crazy. Yeah, played played the Spectrum. Where they every time they got announced, they told you that you sucked, and you know what I mean. You go to Buffalo, you play to the Odd. The Odd was probably my favorite arena to play in, so it was for some reason. Uh, you know, and we played. I got a chance to play at the Igloo in Pittsburgh, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens. You know what? Um, there as well. And, didn't get to play in the old Montreal building. Got to play in the Bell Center. But
Right.
yeah, but
The old
what?
forum.
A lot of history in these arenas. Looking back at the guys that got to play the game before me, and just hoping that I could carry on the legacy of some of these guys.
Let's
Big
let's
loud places
emphasize
too.
let's emphasize the fact that when you talk about the history at that time, those were the top arenas to play in. Um, put it in perspective, when you were playing there, you were playing in a place where a lot of the greatest hockey players have played. That's where most of the best sporting events, concerts, they were very exciting places to be in at that time. So just so we're clear, it's not like you're playing in them now and there was a better arena to play in. The question I have, you mentioned the Boston and Buffalo, two things that they had similar that more than any other team was the smaller sized rink. Was there a difference when you played lacrosse in those rinks because they were smaller?
Um, not really. I tried to play in a box, anyways. When I played, I tried to play in a box on the floor. I didn't play to the width of the arena. I played to the from the crease out. So it really didn't matter how big the arena was for me, except for getting off the bench and getting down into position and getting back off.
It
You
was a
know,
little easier in Boston and in Buffalo.
yeah, the Boston one was
Shorter
really,
trip.
yeah, for sure. Some of those big centers, like I played at the MCI Center in Washington, it was a big rink. where you had to run there's run a little bit longer and further. But yeah, you know what? You're playing them short ones. You get a fast break off the bench. You're closer to the net, easier to get there, quicker to get there. So yeah, there are some positives for sure. Um,
Today,
yeah,
they're all cookie cutters. They're all the same size. They're all the same width. There isn't a difference. Those subtleties in my mind, I never played pro anything. I just wonder, because you're a pro and you play in so many arenas so long, the difference becomes, let's just say, something you have to deal with.
yeah. I think there is a difference in every arena, but when you walk into the arena, to me, it's you look in the rafters and you look at the rafters first and you see who's in the rafters, and then you draw energy from that. Um, but like I said, every arena to me was like a 6 foot box. You know, when I went on the floor, I played, from the crease up to the shooter, back down to the crease, and it was pretty much, I treated that's how I treated every arena. It doesn't matter how big the arena was or how far you had to run. It was just a matter of marking your territory and knowing where to be and where to stay.
Well,
That focus.
in those old arenas too, they had the lower glass, so you would hear the fans a lot more than you would hear them now. Whether
Yeah,
they
you know
like
what? You're right, but and I'll say this, and probably about 99% of the people that play the game or any game, they don't hear the crowd anyways.
or not.
When that game's going on, you're not listening to who's booing you or who's cheering. It's like, when you're sitting on the bench, you can feed off. When the game's on, you're focused on this and that. You don't hear anything else but what's going on in your closed circuit. It's the truth.
Yeah, but you still have to be aware, to Gary's point, to the top of the glass.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, for sure.
Now this time you actually had a chance to, excuse me, play with Gary Gate as opposed to play against him.
Yeah, you know what? It was yeah, it was a treat. It was one of those things where we got lucky. I was supposed to end up in Boston, um, but the Boston thing fell through, so a bunch of us ended up going to Baltimore to play. And you know what? Yeah, it was. I was lucky to play with Gary. I
Hmm.
thought, he is a guy that I could play off of any day. He had his thing. He wanted the ball, and I wanted to get him open. It was the same through my whole career. You know what? Every guy I played with, it was like, okay, I don't want the ball. You take the ball. I'll get you open. Then you just give it back to me, and I'll go to score. You know what I mean?
Well, you did that 93 times in your career, 93
Yeah,
goals,
yeah,
115 assists, pretty good career, even though it was shortened with a knee injury.
yeah. You know what? I got lucky. You know what? Like I said, you know what? I was blessed to even play in the league. Being on the West Coast at the time, you know, left the wife and the 2 kids on the West Coast while I came east to play. And I thank them for that. And you know, it, and if anybody ever gets the opportunity to do this, make it count and enjoy every moment because you never know when it's going to end.
Right.
Now that's the one thing. Talk to us a little bit about the sacrifice that family members make, spouses, children. How did you balance that?
Um, yeah, you know what? My first year, I lived in Baltimore. They lived out west. I traveled back and forth. Every so often, maybe once a month, to go back and visit. It's a lot, and like nowadays, guys fly in, fly out. At that time, we all pretty much moved down there and stayed down there. But nowadays, guys are flying in, guys are flying out. A lot of travel. Um, you're giving up Friday at work. It's like you're giving up your family life for 3 days if the family doesn't travel with you. So you know what, you have to have that support. And if you don't have that support, you're going to be single pretty quick.
Right. Now, once your career ended, you got into coaching, but you wound up spending more time with field than you did with box.
Yeah, you know what? For some reason, I just when I made the transition, when I hurt myself, I do believe that's when I kind of made the transition into field lacrosse, out of the arena, outside into the um,
Fresh
yeah,
air.
yeah, to the fresh air, something different at the time. Um, always loving the indoor game, but I just wanted to do something different. Uh, so
You were
Yeah,
able to watch that game evolve, though, too, over that amount of time from where it began when you started there to where when you left there. That game grew surmountably, right?
yeah, and I had some good executives to work with when I was the VP of field in Ontario. Working with minor field and in the women's field and senior men's field and junior men's field. I had some good people running those where I didn't have to do a lot of babysitting,
Mm-hmm.
but had to do a lot of fighting for them to get stuff that they wanted done and stuff like that.
Did you
Right.
still play that 6-foot box, or did it get bigger?
No, it got smaller.
It got smaller.
A lot of corporate conversations, really. So after 9 years with the OLA as the VP of field lacrosse, you get elected commissioner of OSL Senior B. Talk to us about how that all came about.
Um, I was getting to the point where 9 years in, how you're there and stuff, doing stuff for a while. And changes needed all the time, and new ideas and stuff like that. So, I told them I wasn't even planning on running for the Ontario Series Lacrosse League or the Senior B League at the time. Sharon McEachern had that job, and she'd been there for a long time. And that league was looking for a change, and I was looking for a change. So, it was just one of those things that kind of happened overnight. It wasn't something I planned on going
Mm-hmm.
into it, um, but it kind of happened like instantly. And I've been there 5 years, 4 or 5 years right now, and enjoying it.
Right. You got baptized by fire, though, because that first year, 2019, was that big brawl between Owen Sound and Six Nations in the playoffs that took all the headlines.
Oh yeah, even Barstool Sports had her. So yeah, you know what? Yeah, you know what? It is what it is, and that game happened for whatever reason that incident took place, and when that was done, and we got to sit back and look at what happened, and I think I laid out probably 15 suspensions out of that, and just trying to say, listen, this is the way it's going to be. Um, really doing this on my own, and kind of like stepping in and saying, listen, ain't going to happen if I'm going to be in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And not to toot my own horn, but I like there's no need for that in the game.
Right.
And there's still some guys today that are still suspended because of it.
Right.
So, but you
And they
know
really
what?
were too good a team to really get messed up in that nonsense, anyways. Really.
Yeah, correct. And moving forward from that incident to the President's Cup, Six Nations was probably the best team in the league and at
Mm-hmm.
President's Cup.
Right.
There were no incidences from that moment on.
Yeah, because it was a classic final you had there between Oakville and Six Nations to go to the Prezi too. And if I
Yeah,
remember right, that came right down to overtime before I think Zed Williams scored. It was an incredible game. I
yeah,
was lucky enough to be there.
yeah. It was, and you know what? And like I said, when they put their mind to it and stayed out of the crap and stuff like that, they were the most behaved team, and they got the job done. And that was a conversation I had with Jeff Palace. Was like, hey Jeff, you guys have the best team on paper.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need that stuff, because if that's going to happen, you're not going to move on, because you won't have the players to.
Right.
So we got through that. Owen Sound got through their series, and on they went, and they went on to win the President's Cup that year.
Now that year we had a lot of problems with referees being assaulted and being threatened, and Six Nations had a part of that as well as we had the Gord Brown situation. And how did you guys work around that? That because there were some refs that wouldn't go out there, there's some that would, so it became kind of a nip and tuck kind of thing.
Well, it's still an eyesore there now, where referees didn't want to go there, so we had to move the games, and they're all bitter because the games couldn't be played at home, and
Right.
right, so they had to move to Brantford to finish the series off, right? Which what it is, what it is. It's like this the bench, they're the other too close. You guys can't behave referees don't feel safe coming in here at the time. I don't think many referees would say that now today.
Right. I
You
agree.
know, it's a great place to play. I think that place to turn the stuff around. I would ref in that arena any day of the week, and and feel safe doing it.
Mm-hmm. Now, this year, of course, you have the President's Cup here in Ontario. Anything big planned or?
Not yet. Oakville's hosting the President's Cup at the track. We're hoping that we can fill that place, which shouldn't be too hard.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It wasn't about the arena size or this or that. It was, yeah. You know what? They had the best. I think they had the best proposal and made sense.
Plus, they're hooked up. You can do all the feeds from there too. You
Yeah,
have a ready-made control room and just have to plug and play, really.
yeah. You know what? And there's spaces, another arena to practice on. If teams want to have practices at the same time as games, they want to go out early. They'll be on the floor. They can warm up early. You know, and and it's right next door. They don't have to leave.
Right.
Right. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I have to sit down with Mike Hancock and obviously Jamie and figure out what our plans are. And obviously prepare for that.
Sure. Now let's talk about the National Lacrosse League. You're coaching the Oshawa Outlaws, but let's talk first about the league in its own right and what it means towards somebody getting towards the NLL. Because I love the league. I've followed it for years. I've been media with them for a bunch of years. And I've watched a lot of these guys come in as green players and leave as consummate professionals. And I think the league has a lot to do with it. And you guys as coaches and all your entourage have a whole lot to do with the quality of player that gets up into the NLL now and stays there.
No, you're absolutely right. And you know what? It's a place for guys to develop. It's not, there are some guys that have been there for a long time, but, for those guys that want to make that jump and are on the verge of making it, not making it, being practice squad, not being practice squad, making the lineup, it's a place to keep your stick in hands and develop your skills rather than not play at all. It's a great thing. Paul St. John has done a great job with this league from the start to finish. I do believe in my personal opinion, I think the NLL has to recognize that this league is beneficial to them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they slough us off and say that, you know what, they don't need the ALL. They can do this or that. But at the end of the day, they keep coming to us for players.
Yeah.
And they keep putting players on our team. So if you're asking me if the NLL needs the ALL, absolutely they do. Because when they don't have enough room for a guy, he comes to play with us.
Right.
And then when they need him, they take him, no questions asked, and we fill the spot with somebody else.
Right.
So, if Paul Day came knocking and wanted Deacon Knott to go play in Philly, well, Deke, thanks for coming. Go play in LL. I'd never hold him back. Jackson Brown, the same thing. Cam Milligan, the same thing. Even though, I gave up a first-round pick for him. If Panther City or if anybody came knocking on the door for Cam, I say, Cam, thanks for playing with us, but here's your time to shine. And you know what? Go do it. It's like we would never hold or even talk to anybody. Peyton Wallace is with me in Oshawa. He's on the Vegas practice squad. He's missed the last 5 weeks. Unfortunately, he hasn't got to play yet, but he's there waiting in case somebody gets hurt and warm up or practice. Because he's the next guy to go in.
Right. Yeah, Toronto, the Monarchs are facing that now because they just lost Mason Kaminga and Parker Pfeiffer, two huge pieces to their season, but they're up to where they want to be up in the NLL, and good on them, and that's what the league is designed to do.
Yeah, and any coach in the NLL that thinks otherwise, you shouldn't be coaching, because our job is to get those guys there. Like I said, there's some guys that don't want to go and never will want to go. They just want to play and work hard and play and compete and get ready for summer. But for those guys, as a coach, to try and even think about telling a guy not to go there because you're in playoffs, it's like, no. You know what? Hey, we're in our semifinal game and they want you to go, dude. You got to go.
Yeah.
Because you might not get another shot.
Right. What I find interesting though is it's one thing that they have, the seasoned coaches like you, Croker, Ray Dance, guys like that who already have the experience and can show. But you also have the players like we mentioned, Cam Milligan and a number of others who have been there and come back, as well as the guys coming up. And when all that meets together and with your peers, a whole lot more gets learned towards turning them into that professional player that just doesn't just go up, but is able to stay up.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. There's a lot of competition out there right now, just trying to get there and trying to figure out your roster as an NLL GM coach, trying to figure out the pieces that you need to compete night in night out. Um, and one guy gets let go to come back here. One guy leaves to go up there. So it could be your lucky day, or it could be your worst nightmare. And so,
well, look at Peterborough this year, right? With the PBLA becoming a league, they lost 14 players.
yeah,
So all of a sudden, they became a rebuild, forced. And, they had a rough year, but, they're set for next season. They'll get some of those guys back. And, they found some diamonds in the rough as well, I think.
yeah. You know what? At some point, teams have to rebuild no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
You get to a certain age where you're going to age guys out and have to replace some of the younger guys. Hopefully that you can just get the right pieces. Like our team last year, I moved probably three of our better players actually, to make my team a more Eastern team and a team that could practice every night. When we had practice, everybody shows up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with Peterborough, they might get those 14 guys back next year, right?
Yeah,
Six
and they're going
nations.
to really, yeah.
Six
you
nations.
wonder what kind of team they're going to have.
Yeah, Six Nations in the same boat, right? They lost some guys too. They have 18 guys that are eligible to play this weekend because of that situation, and because they've lost a couple of guys to the NL and Dusty and Jerry Stats, and so it is what it is. If I lose a guy, so be it. I lose a guy, and we'll just get through it, and hopefully the guys that we have can step up and take their place.
Now I look at your team, and the first name, of course, that jumps out to me is John St. John, and just to set what he had done this year, in the last game that you guys won, John set a points record with 15 points in that game. He wound up winning the scoring title with 107 points, which is another record. His total of 74 assists is yet another record, and became the all-time leader in assists with his 300th career assist, as well as 442 points. That's astounding. That's just some fantastic numbers.
Yeah, you know what? Going into that game, I never even realized that Pfeiffer didn't play. So, if Pfeiffer had played, obviously, would have been a different story. Would have got a couple of points at least. But at the end of the day, Johnny missed the game earlier in the season, and Pfeiffer missed that game. So I think they played the same amount of games. But when Johnny was going, it was like he had a good first half. Unfortunately, you know what? Schwiegen didn't show up with a full lineup. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like, you still got to play the game. And Johnny had a first good half and came out of the half, needing, I think it was like 6 points to do it in the second half, and he didn't even realize though. He didn't realize, like, when he was at 13 that he was only looking for the one. And I said to him, I said, listen, if you get two, you hold the single game record too. not just the points, not just the season title, but you'll have a new record and most points in the game. And he's like, really? Yeah, he didn't even know that. And like he was going to go sit down after the 14th, and we were kidding him on the bench and stuff like that about how he's going to have to play defense when he's done that, and no more offense, and and at the end of the game, he thanked everybody in the dressing room for helping him get to that point where he was able to win the scoring title and achieve the single game point record.
Right. Now, I look at the team, and of course, we talked about John. You got Alex Simons, who also had a great year, 39 goals, 40 assists. Duke Laskovitz, who had 26 goals, 39 assists. Cam Milligan, we talked about him briefly. He only played 5 games, 16 goals, 21 assists. Now, that's one of the things we were talking about earlier. Sometimes Lady Luck is on your side, and he wound up in your lap. as opposed to losing players to the NLL in time for the playoffs.
Yeah, you know what? It was, you know what? He was available. Panthers doesn't go, unfortunately. You know, he's not playing in that league. And, you know, like I said, if he got called up tomorrow, I'd say have fun, good luck, and see you later. But, you know what? It was luck, and, you know what? It was available. You know, I got Mark Farthing in the deal with him as a veteran D guy. You know, Cam gives me that extra threat on offense where, you know, if the right side wasn't good enough with Simons, Laskowicz, and Gilray, and our young guy, Hollerack, you know, you had Cam in there. That's five righties that can probably play on anybody's team.
Right.
And then you move to the left side where Jake Gilmore, you know, is having a fantastic season on the left side. Johnny's having a great season, and young new guy Tristan Rogers is, you know, having a good season. And Jeff McNulty came back halfway through the season. You know, living in Ottawa, it's tough for him to get here every night. So, you know, when he gets here, he gets in and he's starting to put up some numbers.
Yeah, 12 goals, 12 assists in only 6 games. That's impressive as well. Having Deacon not as your goalie, now Jackson Brown as well, but having Deacon not there, who is on the verge of having a really good NLL career, in my opinion. His junior stuff has been sensational in Peterborough. He has that mentality where he is never disheveled. He always seems to be in position. He is always low key, easygoing, and just is able to get the job done.
Yeah, you know what? Me and Deep, we have a lot of conversations about, you know, his play. You know, and it's no secret that, you know, Deacon's the guy that I wanted. Deacon's the guy that I kept. I let Lucas Nagy go over Deacon, right, in the draft, right? So, you know, so it is what it is. You know, Jackson Brown, you know what? He stepped up. He's what 3-0 this year. Deacon's like 5 wins. And Ryan has one or two. You know,
Yep.
so all the goalies have played well when they get in there, which will be a tough decision for Sunday on, you know, obviously which two are playing, and which guy's starting.
Right.
You know, so but I have faith in all three guys. You know, one guy will be really disappointed because he's not going to dress, but at the same time, you know, I go with my gut, and you know, and with Deacon, you know, he just has to stay focused and, you know, just stay relaxed. Just stay relaxed to the net. He does a great job. Same as Jackson. You know, just don't be jumpy. Just play.
Right. Now that guy who does the power rankings got you guys ranked third, but you know, that's me. But I think the way things are going, it's easy to slot you in as two or even one, depending, because it's so close between Toronto, Brampton, yourselves. We can even include Whitby in that talk of which week to which week the team that shows up, because of the game that you played against Brampton earlier in the week last Wednesday. It was, in my eyes, if we took away the first 6 or 7 minutes, phenomenal. It was a game that you guys just absolutely controlled after that little kerfuffle at the beginning, where everything that was shot went in.
Yeah,
After that, it was a settled down Oshawa team that showed me that they meant business.
yeah. You know what? It was a Wednesday night. We had guys that arrived 20 minutes for the game. You know, 4 guys from Peterborough got there late. You know, one guy called me and had a flat tire, couldn't make it. You know, so we're scrambling at the start, trying to figure out, you know, who's where. We're, you know, looking for these guys to come in and get their warm up in. It's a Wednesday night game, and you know, you worked all day. You're really not, you know, it's a different game than it is on a Saturday,
Yeah.
right? You know, you're driving all day. You're gonna get in a car, and it's like, yeah, you know what? So, kudos to Brampton, because you know what, they took it to us early. We couldn't figure it out. Um, we had a practice last Friday. We figured it out.
Right.
You know what? And the guys are ready to go. So, you know what? It's just a matter of, hey, come do your job, play every shift like it's your last.
Mm-hmm.
60 minutes lacrosse. And in my opinion, I think we're the better team, but the better team doesn't always win.
Right. Right. And you know, as the season's gone along, there's been a number of weeks where you guys were in number one. and then a little bump in the road, and you know. But every team has gone through that, and say timing is everything. You guys got Milligan at the right time. Toronto's lost a couple of players. Um, Brampton has been lucky enough to keep their lineup together. The Gage Boards and the Sunderlands, but who knows?
Yeah,
Coming up to the NLL playoffs too, right?
and the thing with those guys, it's a goalie situation, right? If Nagy Dunkley are gone, right? Like if they get the call to go, then what, right?
Well, Dunkerley's already gone to New York, right? So
Yeah, I know.
that's a
And
big
then
blow.
yeah, like they beat us obviously without either one of those guys last week. But like I said, we didn't have a good game. I don't think we played well.
Mm-hmm.
The game we played against Toronto, we were up by I don't know, we were up by half dozen, and that would slip away on us late in the game and taking the bad penalties, and you know, uh, we lost to Paris earlier in the season. you know,
Right.
in a game where probably should have lost, but we did. We lost. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is, and drop one to Whitby, who I think Whitby's a very good team as well. So I think right now, Paris could surprise Whitby in game one. And if they do that, I think Paris, could surprise Toronto in game two. If Toronto gets by Peterborough. So
Right.
there's some upsets in the making here. Like, us playing Six Nations isn't a cakewalk.
Right.
We just got to make sure we're going to do our job, right?
Right. And
And
Paris has had a good couple of weeks. Probably 4 of the last 5 weeks, Paris has played very strong. As long as they get a full lineup together,
well,
uh, they're a pretty tough team.
that's it. You're right. That it's getting that full lineup, right? Like, they've been shorthanded all year long, and been looking for players and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
the guys are starting to come back. Davis Prince is back now playing, right? If they get Marley Angus playing, and you
Mm-hmm.
know whoever, like, yeah, they got a good squad.
Yeah. And now I think Gal Abrams is in their nets too. So you're talking NLL caliber goalie in there as
Yep.
well, which also steadies the ship and allows them to do a few more things because they're not hovering around and worried about what's going on in the back end.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's their defense is pretty solid, but you put that veteran goalie back there, it just helps you that much more.
Now I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about family, about your family and your kids, and 4 kids, all
Yep.
players, all players. Two
Yep.
transitioned into being referees. Josh, of course, has you know made it to the top levels of.
Hold on there, Garrett. That's not my Josh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, threw
That's
me
all
around
right.
there now.
I'm throwing things away now. You got it all
Okay, let me remind people who we're here with so we make sure we don't have the wrong guys. So we have Peterborough native Joe Hiltz, former NLL player, Commissioner Ontario Series Lacrosse, and the
right.
current head coach for the
So
playoff bound Oshawa Outlaws of the Arena Lacrosse League.
yes.
That's the first time I've ever seen Gary make a mistake, and I've known him for about 12 years.
So
The only other time he made a mistake is when he introduced his wife and said the wrong name. Now, he did
nice.
talk to his wife for 2 weeks after that, but everything was
Yeah.
fine. No, just kidding. That never happened. But
Yeah. So my son is Josh.
Mhm.
But he's 6'2", and not redheaded.
Okay.
and not redheaded.
Not redhead.
Yeah,
Six
but
two is 6'2" would
what?
give it away
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
like right now, Emily is my oldest. She went to Laurier, went to Trent, won a OUA title at Trent, with the Trent team. She's at Ottawa now doing her masters in sports psychology and stuff like that. And my young lad, he's out. Josh is out in Lake Louise right now. Doing something that he's always wanted to do. He's working out there, skiing, living the life. Um, might never see him again. you know. And then I got my two youngest girls, who Abigail, who's in her third year at St. Bonaventure University, playing for the Bonnies women's field lacrosse team there, and Meg, who's in her first year at Canisius, playing for the Griffins there.
Now I want to talk about a story for Emily,
Okay.
dating back to 2015. She made history. She and let's go talk about this junior Lakers taking on the Burlington Chiefs, and they didn't have an official.
Nope. They're missing an official, and it was like, I can't do this game. I'm not doing the game. I'm not carded, not doing it. But there's Emily, and and Emily decided, okay, she was going to do it. Bill Fox was roughing the game at the time. Bill Fox pretty much told both teams if there's any incident whatsoever regarding Emily Joe that whoever said something or whatever would not be in the game anymore. So you know what, it was pretty good. She dropped the ball in the first face off that she got the ball, and she blew the whistle, called illegal procedure on one team, and gave the team the ball, and the way she went.
Pretty amazing. Um, it was. I would say that well, you kind of played it down a little bit.
Well, no, don't get me
Just
wrong. It was,
all the things that went around
it's something, and it's something that as officials in our house, I always groomed. I tried to groom my kids for situations like that, and always being confident in what you do, and don't be afraid to make this or that call. I always say you ref by feel. If you don't feel it's right, then there's something wrong, right? So, the best way to stay out of the game is let the game go. When you feel something's wrong, blow your whistle,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, you know what? Yeah, it was a great moment for her. Obviously, she did a great job. She had a great partner on the floor that day with Bill Fox, like I said.
Well,
You
Foxy's
know,
awesome.
yeah,
Foxy's just a terrific gentleman and a fantastic referee.
yeah. And I would never take nothing away from Emily in that game because she stepped up, where some people probably wouldn't have, and you know what, she went out and she did a great job, and
Right.
kudos to
Absolutely.
her.
Now, one of the questions I ask a lot of the guests now is basically a state of the union, where the game is now, excuse me, and where you figure it's going to be over the next, say, 5 years from now.
I think right now what has to happen is lacrosse people have to be on the same page. Whether you're with this organization or that organization, at some way, we need to learn to coexist. And I'm talking private sector to the CLA, to the OLA, to the BCLA, to everything in between, and to the east. Like we need to figure out, what's best for lacrosse in general for us as a whole. Is it we own you, I own you? No, I think we don't own anybody. They're lacrosse players,
Mm-hmm.
and we should be giving them every opportunity to play wherever they want to play,
Right.
as long as it's not interfering with your club. You know what I mean? So if I'm a junior B player and I'm playing with the junior B, Gail say, and we're going to playoffs, and something happens where someone calls me and says, "Hey, I need you to come play in this tournament with me," the answer should be no.
Right.
Right? Your club is your number one obligation during season.
Mm-hmm.
Season's over, you should be able to go play wherever you want. And we should
Right.
be telling our guys, hey, you know what? Yeah, get your stick in your hand, go play. Go have some fun, go play. You know what? See you at training camp next year or whatever. If we have something in the fall, you know what? We'll give you a call. You come back and do your thing. But I think right now, I think we're, we're we're going to get better. It's going to get better. I have a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think we'll grow again. Coming out of COVID, we shrank a lot in certain clubs in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the game of lacrosse, it's just one of those things where people learn to love it. It's a
Right.
great sport. It's great for kids to get out. Some don't like the hitting or whatever, but at the end of the day, you know what? It teaches good hand eye coordination. Stuff like that. Where team it helps you with playing on a team and you know having coaches and listening, and it's like going to school,
Right.
right? And there's a lot of history behind the game.
For sure. Do you think with the ALL now being in the West, do you think that they can have their own version of a Man Cup?
You know what? We talked about it this year about having the winner travel west this year to play there.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think the timing was right. I think you will see this happen next year. You will
Well,
see the winner from the east travel west to play.
that's pretty amazing. I'm looking
And
forward to that.
it still might happen this year. What if the team that wins decides they want to go out there and play, and the league's behind them, and you know what, and we get the players, it
Mm-hmm.
still might happen. But it's just a matter of making sure that it's done in a proper timing where, I'm not taking 3 days off work.
Right.
Because a lot of these guys are firemen, teachers, and stuff like that, where, and have full time jobs where,
Sure.
I'm getting. If I win, I'm going to go. But if I don't win, I'm going to come to work. It's like, you have to make your mind up early.
Right.
Right. And holidays are scarce for some guys.
Mm-hmm. Final question before we do the thank yous and that is for a new kid who's trying to pick up a stick and learn this game. Suggestions.
Yeah, just pick it up and enjoy it. Enjoy your stick. Is it hard to catch? Yeah. Which way do I shoot? If you're asking me which way I shoot, if I put a pencil on the table and I pick it up with my right hand, I shoot left.
Mm-hmm.
Right, strong. My dominant hand to the bottom, other hand to the top. Right. For catching the ball, to learning how to catch a lacrosse ball, it's like having a baseball glove in your hand. Right.
Right.
You treat the pocket as your glove, and you know what? You just watch it go into your glove. So when you're playing there, the ball's in the air, you just watch the ball go to your stick. Right? Keep your eye on it, and just treat it, a couple little things that you can think of, and, and shoot overhand.
Right. Joe, I want to thank you. You for taking the time out of your schedule. I'm glad we were able to finally get this to work for an hour and get it all done.
You guys didn't even ask me about my new job.
What is your new job?
I got named the head coach of the Irish women's national box team.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. For another day.
That's awesome, man.
So if there's any Irish girls out there that are women, 21 and over, or over 21, that have Irish grandparents, look me up.
Or parents.
Or parents.
Or parents, yes, or parents.
Going as far back as grandparents.
Correct. Yeah, you know what?
Or if they're Irish, they can be Irish too.
Absolutely.
And where will you guys be practicing, and where will you guys be playing?
We don't know yet. It's brand new program, so we're just putting it together. I'm going to Prague there in a couple weeks to coach in what they have. It's called She-Box. It's a tournament for women over there. So I'm going to go over and coach the Irish team in that tournament to start off with, and we're going to go from there.
Will you be there at the same time as the Rubeski tournament?
I'm there for like 14 days.
Look me up. I'll be there for the Rubeski tournament with the Oshawa Green Gales.
Well, I'm coaching the Gales, bud.
Well, I'll be there with you. We'll be on the plane together.
No, I'm leaving. I'm leaving on the Wednesday and coming back like 10 minutes before you guys.
Oh, okay.
So I'm on my own. I'm on a plane by myself. I'll be lonely.
Oh.
Well, you'll be on the plane with strangers.
Yeah, I'll be sleeping.
Yeah, you'll have the most peaceful one coming back.
Absolutely. I won't have to listen to Pouch.
Well, Gary, thanks for doing this. Joe, it's been a real pleasure. Third time was a charm. So, it shows that you should never give up and always keep trying. And in our case, our 6x6 foot square is that screen you're in. We kept you in that screen where you're supposed to be. So you're in your 6x6 box for a change when it comes to this show. Okay. He's Joe Hiltz. The other good-looking guy is Gary Groob, and I'm the guy in pink. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been NLL Lacrosse Talk, seen every Thursday at 4 o'clock. You can check out some of the other programs that I do. This one's one of my best ones, of course, lacrosse, but we do CFL football. We do sports talk. We do news talk, all on Candid Frank Live 1030 YouTube channel if you want to check it out. Thanks for watching, everybody.